Hey everybody, welcome to Push Your Glasses Up. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Reena. And hi, I want to talk really quietly. I just came out of a quiet place.
I went so quiet that I didn't respond.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess it's just a pregnant pause when you're not in the same room as somebody and you go quiet. Yeah, it is a very good movie.
Mm-hmm. Except that I think that Olive and I would be dead pretty quickly.
Well, she can't stop farting.
Even just the
Yeah, you just
gone.
got to go under a waterfall.
I'd be like the old man. I was like, I can't not speak.
Yeah. It would be generally pretty hard for us to do this show in that world. But yeah, it's...
Welcome to Push Your Glasses Up. I'm Reena.
Well, at least the levels would be easy to deal with.
No one would ever peek.
But
So
yeah,
where do we even start with this? This was definitely a cool movie.
I absolutely adore this movie. Like, this is clearly going to be on the go-tos for like the end of the year when we do our countdowns. Like, this is gonna be up there and in the debate for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love what it did with within the genre. I love that it's using as far as I know, new device within the genre. It is tonally like all about family. All of the trauma is actually like, except for like the intro, the trauma that the family goes through is actually like earned instead of just being gratuitous. Yeah, it is pretty stunning all around.
I just felt like everything was so well thought out in such a realistic manner. So, like, if this was a scenario that really occurred, how would you survive? And, like, right down to, like, little details. Because, I mean, okay, guys, if you haven't seen it, we're, like, obviously gonna ruin, like, the entire movie. So please turn off this podcast now if you don't want it to be spoiled. For instance, the baby. Now, this is the thing I have with, like, The Walking Dead, where I'm like, what are you gonna do with a baby? And they never really address it, but here they actually, like, thought through
Little baby box.
Exactly. And then I like, okay, but if you put a baby in a box and the baby can't breathe, like, haha, we have oxygen. Like, that's what I mean. Like, they thought it through, and we know that they were at the pharmacy.
Yeah. Well,
So
and then they also like set up not far before they actually go into the little thing underground. They actually, when they pan over some of the newspapers and stuff, it says like "get underground," and so it's like there's a direct setup for that payoff, and yeah, there is
But like,
a lot of
but
good setup
even
and payoff in this.
but even like closing off that basement door with a mattress instead of just like a wood door.
Yeah, well, because they took the doors off of everything because they'll make a noise every single time. Painting the different parts of the floorboards so you know which ones creak, which ones don't. There's a lot of thinking through on this.
With newspaper. They made soundproofing in there, which I thought was like interesting. I'm trying to think, like, there were just so many like little details of like, what would you do?
Yeah,
I mean, there's only.
Go ahead.
That's what like really rooted it for me. It wasn't like so far fetched.
Yeah, like besides the general like, there are these monster things. Everything else is completely grounded. And I had somebody at work was asking me like if I felt cheated out of something with the movie because they don't explain where or what caused these creatures. And I was like, I don't care. This movie's about the family. This isn't about some bigger universe. This is about the family, and I got the story of the family.
That's what I was just after the movie, we went to a brewery. I was talking about it with my roommates, and that's what they said. Like, it didn't matter where they came from.
Yeah, because like all I care about is what the family knows, and the family knows a couple of things about the creatures and that they need to survive, and that's it. That sets up the whole feeling of like being an audience member for that movie, is just knowing that that's how I'm supposed to feel is gonna get me through it. Yeah, it was I all like the touchstones of like everything I love about a movie is on the screen in this film. It's the score being very simple and minimalistic, or not minimalistic, minimalist, because it was very good. Adding that ick makes it sound not good. But the cinematography felt very organic and natural to the setting that they were in. It wasn't just like generic horror movie lighting on everything. It was used when it was needed. The jump scares were used as they were needed.
Well, like the red lights had a purpose.
Yeah.
Like they weren't just like to create a scary ambiance. Like the red lights existed to be like, uh-oh, shit's going down.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like I spoke about it before, the trauma that's earned is like the storytelling in this movie about the family is super well done. And you actually give a shit about the characters in this story instead of just being like, oh, well, I'm here to watch people die.
Well, yeah, it wasn't about like watching people die. Even like all the jump scares were like, they weren't even all related to the creatures.
Yeah.
The only part I couldn't watch was the nail on the stairs.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the raccoon.
Oh, no. Fuck raccoons. Fuck you, Trash Panda. You got it coming. No. It was when I knew when she pulled the laundry bag, I was like, I can't. Like, that was the only part.
Well, every single time that they went down the stairs after that, I was like, something's going to happen. Someone else is going to step on it. But yeah, like, the setup of it's funny because I don't even remember, like, do they have first names? Any of them that we know of?
No.
Yeah, I don't recall that names. Actually. So
not even the little one that they lost.
Yeah. So
I just keep calling them Emily Blunt and John Krasinski.
It's a documentary. So the relationship of the father kind of being a little bit cold with the daughter after the trauma of losing the first youngest child,
which I think was just Darwinism, to be real.
Right. But like, understandably, he would get to a point where it's not that he doesn't love her, but like that relationship obviously has some sort of like change to it after that moment.
Well, it's also because but the other thing too is like in the midst of all this like turmoil and chaos, it's also like there's always turmoil, I feel like, between dads and teenage daughters, having formerly been like a teenage daughter. Mm-hmm. I can tell you, like, you just sometimes don't agree with your parents and he won't take her. But the other thing is too, like, she can't hear anything, and that makes her unsafe for her. As smart as she is, like, we get that perspective, which I love when they go to her perspective and it's just silent.
Yeah.
So, like, if a noise had happened, if she had stepped on it, she might not know, which puts her at risk.
Yeah. And then
I think it's less about, she thinks it's blame, but I think it's more like extra concern because he can't fix her cochlear implant.
Absolutely.
So,
the other thing is, like, she can't go into the basement. Like, he doesn't allow her into the basement to basically look what he's working on. And so her frustration of, like, they keep trying to do these things with new versions of hearing aids and stuff. He clearly cares, but she doesn't ever get to actually see that. So her frustration of, like, just trying a new one, she doesn't actually, like, see the aspect of, like, this is how he's trying to show that everything is still the same.
Or maybe if she saw all the failed trials on there,
Right.
like how it might make her feel even more hopeless.
Yeah, and all of these little character things that were being set up made the finale of the movie, and literally the last shot of the movie, absolutely, like, I wanted to like get up and start cheering. Like the literally the final shot.
Badass.
Yeah. The final shot
She's
of the movie when she just pumps the shotgun, I don't think like, maybe Terminator 2 or something, like, I don't know if there's any movie where the final scene left me so enthusiastic for like what could come next. Not that I don't want more from this universe. I want this movie to be just this movie, but like the possibility of like what comes right after this when they go kind of like after all the monsters and stuff, because they set it up with like all the locations of cities and stuff. I don't want to actually see it play out, but knowing that they're going after it just left me like, fuck yeah. Yeah, man, this movie is a good one.
Mm-hmm. Although I will say, we always talk about we being dead inside, but that scene with the truck, when the thing is trying to get the kids,
and that's one of the earned traumas that I think they genuinely nailed.
And he knows there's no other way.
Yep.
These things are armored. The axe isn't going to go through them. I think he kind of knew that in the first place. Might as well go out swinging, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that moment.
Well, that was the other thing, too, is that using the frequency in the basement gave them the shot because it was opened up. So when it came back, she was able to, like, take it out.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to think of, like, well, why didn't people just shoot them on the head in the first place?
Oh, that's set up early, too, because on his little dry erase board, armor.
Yep.
Every little part. It's all so simple, but it's all super detailed at the same time. It's man.
Except the fact that they couldn't use a condom. That's like the one loophole.
There are no more condoms in this world.
They had none at the pharmacy. She could have had her pick of birth control. Check the fridge for NuvaRings.
You know those were the first things gone. Eventually. I cannot, like, I want to go see it like 30 more times.
Well, like, even the traumatic part in the beginning with the youngest son, they, everyone blames themselves in like in a different way for what happened. But at the same time, like, they were clear that it was only like 90 days-ish, 89, 90 days into this invasion. Yeah. And so if you're 4 years old, like, you weren't like living this life for like a year or two. Right. Like, a little kid doesn't like,
it's not Carl.
Understand. Yeah, you're right. Like, who's like born into the apocalypse, basically.
Who's also dead on the show anyway, so he didn't make it. Didn't help him.
Rest in peace, Carl Papa. Pour out a giant can of pudding.
Slow pour for Carl.
Slow pour of chocolate pudding. Or no, I did make the joke. I was like,
very slow.
Aw, why did you have to make that sound?
Because sometimes I have to do Foley work.
Gross. The thought of chocolate pudding just flopping to the ground is gross enough.
Any of the silences for the rest of the episode, I'm just gonna copy and paste that sound right in.
No, please don't.
Well, we'll just have to keep talking to avoid it. But yeah, I get where people were like, it's just like a Cloverfield movie, but like better than a Cloverfield movie. As much as I adore 10 Cloverfield Lane, this is a better movie than that one, I would say.
I felt like it was more like Signs, if I had to pick a movie that it reminded me of.
It has a bit of that too. Like it has the setup and finish of like the water glasses paying off in the end is because that
ended up being about a family too.
Yeah.
To your point.
Yeah.
In the cornfields. Everyone stop living near fucking cornfields.
You would have thought that Children of the Corn would have stopped that. It is America's #1 vegetation product. We can't get away from it.
That is where all these things go. Aliens. I think these things were aliens. It's just that's where aliens go. Cornfields.
Yeah, they could be aliens. They could be some sort of thing that we caused from like a radiation thing. Like I honestly don't even. I'm just like, oh, they're like scary big creatures that kill people. Cool. We just can't get killed by them. That's all I need to know.
What did you think of the creature design?
I thought it was kind of cool. At first, until they actually showed them close up, it actually looked like they were sort of more human, like mutated human forms.
They look like Venom or Carnage, don't they?
In the beginning, a little bit, but like more with the Carnage because of the like sort of sword arm things. But yeah, it's sort of looked like they were things that were brought back from the dead until later on when you finally start to see them closer up, and that they're completely like non-human whatsoever.
Well, the interesting thing about the way the sword arms, the way they crawled is like if you've ever seen like a bat try to walk, that's what that reminded me of, which would go in the whole blind using sonar, which I thought was like they never even mentioned that they do that. You just hear them doing like
clicks,
the clicking.
Yeah.
And then the way that like they opened up to like hear better, to like absorb all the frequencies was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It almost reminded me a little bit of The Last of Us in a way.
Uh-huh.
Like if the clickers opened up.
Yeah. Man.
Actually, this movie is kind of like a Signs meets The Last of Us.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that.
Look, I made a video game reference. Aren't you proud of me? And I knew what I was talking about.
Oh my god, I have 2 pre-ordered video games. I don't think I've ever had 2 pre-ordered video games at the same time.
Look at
ever.
You.
I'm so stoked for God of War and Spider-Man. But yeah. Oh, do we have anything else on A Quiet Place? Because I could use that transition.
No. I think we covered it.
Okay. Summarize. A Quiet Place is very fucking good, and if you haven't watched it, watch it. I just referenced video games. You just referenced video games. I saw Rampage, and Is
it everything you thought it was going to be?
Technically, and more. It's not a bad movie. First of all, it is genuinely like a fun, dumb fucking movie that has a surprising amount of heart to it. I was nervous, as you know, about the fact that they are not actually humans mutated, but what they did is actually inject the movie with a lot of heart by making it about the relationship of George, the albino gorilla, and The Rock. It is basically a Fast and the Furious movie, but with giant animals in it.
Okay, that sounds like my kind of movie.
It's like legit probably the best movie based on a video game I've ever seen. Granted, I haven't seen the new Tomb Raider. I don't expect it to be like crazy amazing, even if it's like one of the better reviewed ones. But yeah, it is probably the best time I've had with a video game movie ever.
It looks like what a video game movie should be. Action, fun, a little bit of heart. I think the problem is when they start taking themselves like way too seriously, because the essence of video games is entertainment and fun.
Well, not even so.
Unless it's like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, and then it's scary.
Well, that's the thing, and I think the first Silent Hill movie is also a pretty solid video game movie. Probably like the next best one after this. But the thing I think about video game movies and where they start to fall is when they don't just try to be a movie. Mm-hmm. When they try to be a video game is where they fail, because that's not the art form that they are using. Like one of the things in the trailer for Tomb Raider that I was like, ugh, is when they started doing like the slow motion slides to avoid traps and bringing back like 90s Lara at like where she has two guns in her hands and the braid. I'm just like, no, stick with the new games like you said you were going to.
Did she have square boobs too? Did that happen?
Well,
Did they go like old school?
90s Lara had triangle boobs.
That's what I mean. They're very angular
very
boobs.
triangular boobs.
Very angular boobs.
Yeah. But like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, just take the idea and make a movie. Don't try to make it like this. I don't care about like trying to replicate a moment from a game. I just want to see the story of a game brought to life. So,
but also, don't try to reimagine it like they did with Super Mario Brothers.
There's go to the Gaming Historian on YouTube, and he has an episode all about Super Mario Brothers, the movie, and it's fascinating because you actually go at what the directors wanted to do. Sounded super interesting, and then the studio was screwing up their idea.
They must have had like a Gremlins 2 moment. It's in the movie.
Yeah. Well, like you can see because of the style of that movie, that they were going for like a kid's version of Blade Runner for the aesthetic. And that's like legitimately when they were making the movie and like pre-production and writing and everything, like that's what they were going for. And then it got like, they tried to change it after production started, and that's what caused all the issues. And then John Leguizamo and oh no, why can't I think of his name? Bob Hoskins. They apparently were like getting drunk on the set after everything went wrong, and then that's why he suddenly has a cast in the middle of the movie, and they never explained why he has a cast on his arm. But yeah, the thing about this movie is like some of the stuff was a little heavy-handed. Like the main villains are like heads of like a sort of chemical company or whatever. And straight up over the shoulder of one of the two characters is like a brother and sister, is the arcade cabinet. Like not even like it's in the shot like 500 times. I'm like, okay, it was a nice nod at first, but it's a little too, it's like not even that out of focus in the background. It's like really clear. Like, so did they name it after the game and then it happened to do this thing where it made giant animals? Or yeah, so but it's legitimately like super dumb, super fun, just like the game was when I played it growing up, because I had the original console port for the Nintendo Entertainment System. My brother and I would play it all the time, and yeah, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan is basically like a funnier version of Negan from The Walking Dead. A version of Negan that like I didn't get tired of immediately. He's basically if you took Negan and added a little bit of Yosemite Sam.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And it's weird because like everyone, like headlines are all calling him a villain and stuff, but I'm like, he's not really a villain. He's just an agent for the government who's trying to make sure people don't die. That's not a villain. The villains are the two people that run the company that caused the mutations to happen. But yeah, it's like a hard PG-13 too. There's like a surprising amount of gore in this movie. Lots of splats, lots of
pudding splats.
Yeah, if pudding were like people basically exploding. But yeah, very very much a hard PG-13 that is very enjoyable and a great like turn your brain off kind of movie experience.
Well, just talking about this is like turned my brain on because now I'm thinking about like video game movies that I wish existed, and you know where I'm going with this. You know what I wish.
Yes, I know. It's Katamari.
Oh my god, can you imagine a Katamari movie?
I did.
Like, how fucked up would that be?
I mean, they would have to make it an anime, and then you would lose your shit.
No.
But
no. Who? It could be like who did Fifth Element?
No, we don't want him to keep making movies. Luc Besson needs to stop making movies.
Not Luc Besson. What about the people who did The Matrix?
The Wachowskis?
Yes! My God, what if they did a Katamari Damacy movie?
I could kind of see it, because Speed Racer is actually like a supremely underappreciated for what it is movie. And that is a, like, you want an example of why someone should make a Katamari movie? Speed Racer. Whew.
Na 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 na. Oh my God, that I like now. I'm trying to like cast it in my head.
Elijah Wood.
Yes, as the prince. But who? Okay, who would be the king of the cosmos? It should be Christopher Walken.
That's a little too. That's a little too on the nose, I think.
It's a little too on the nose. Okay,
Yeah.
then who? Gary Oldham.
Did you say Oldham?
I was like, Gary Oldham would be good.
Oldman.
He can play Oldman.
Yeah. That's why I said, did you say Oldham?
Gary Oldham.
I'm trying to think of somebody that's like of that age group that would be like a suitable. I would love it if they went like Tom Cruise. Like do the thing like when he was in Tropic Thunder, like, what? That's Tom Cruise?
Oh my God, this would be so funny. Like, what if they tried to make it semi-serious? Like, oh my God,
The gritty
the
reboot.
the night sky.
It's the gritty
gone.
reboot.
A gritty reboot.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anyone would be willing to pick up that movie, no matter who was in it. A little too risky.
Oh man, as you get to that part where you're rolling the little ball and you start picking up people and they scream.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, speaking of movies that seem like they came out of my dreams, this is my segue.
Oh, I thought you were going to use the segue of speaking of a movie with animals.
Oh.
Yeah.
I saw Isle of Dogs last night.
Which I haven't had a chance to see yet.
I liked it. I mean, I read some critical analysis of it, but of course I was gonna like it. It's Japan and dogs and Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of it is in Japanese, and I am proud to say I understood about every 20th word.
Nice. I do.
Those lessons are really paying off.
Without having seen the movie, it would not surprise me if a waspy white director like Wes Anderson would sort of see sort of like cultural stuff as like eccentricities instead of just cultural stuff.
Well, kind of. I mean, everyone who is Japanese in the film speaks Japanese.
Yeah.
And he doesn't subtitle it. So when the tiny pilot lands on Trash Island to find his dog, he speaks entirely in Japanese without subtitles.
Which is, I mean, that's cool. I'm down with that. That definitely makes it impossible to be an all ages movie, but I think that's fine.
But I think you understand mostly what he's saying, and I mean, having actually literally had that experience of being in Japan and not speaking Japanese.
Oh, I thought you were going to say of using a rocket to get to a garbage island.
No. I'm just saying you learn to understand people's mannerisms and tone when you don't necessarily understand their words. And
yeah, you have to find other resources for communication.
So the way that they do it is that they have the mayor of Mayor Kobayashi, he usually is giving speeches or talking on a talk show, and then they have a translator.
Right.
And that's how they get around not having subtitles. And I think it's also so you relate to the plight of the dogs, because you actually they all speak English.
Yeah. Because they're the only ones you understand. I mean in the general sense.
But I think that's also the contrast where if you have a movie with people, you don't actually understand most of the people.
Right.
You wouldn't understand a dog speaking, so it's kind of the flip side.
It's in reverse, yeah.
Yeah. But I thought it was cute, and I mean, I never get tired of stop motion.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't, just because
And
we didn't get it at my work until this past Friday. So
yeah, I
I
was
just
waiting
haven't
for
had
it
a
to come
chance.
out. But yeah, I read like a critical analysis of it, and they were saying like there's an American exchange student who kind of like leads the charge of, there's a conspiracy going on in the mayor's office. We have to save the dogs. But like, and she works at their school paper, but all the kids who work at the school paper are like with her.
Hmm.
And I was thinking about like, from my experience, like you can get away with more there as a foreigner. So it would make sense that she would like be the most vocal one
Hmm.
because she doesn't have like the cultural implications that someone who like grew up in Japan would. So I don't know. I didn't read it that way at all. But then again, maybe it. I mean, I've been
It's
traveling there
also,
quite a bit and studying the culture and things like that. So maybe like my perspective is like slightly different.
right.
But
Well, it's also, I mean, it's also hard for us to say how it comes off to other people because it's definitely not like, it's not our perspective to say this is a good or bad look, kind of.
yeah.
Because it's,
Well, like
you
they
know,
were saying that she was like the white savior, which is like the terrible, terrible trope that's in so many
yeah.
movies. But I
Especially
didn't
with
feel.
Asian culture focused movies.
But she definitely like she wasn't like I don't know. I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like she was the hero. It was definitely him. He was the one who went and saved his dog.
Right. Well,
So I don't.
hopefully this
And
week
he,
I'll be able to sit down with it because I
yeah.
got
So
my
let me know
ass
what you
kicked at
think.
work. So I the one time I could have gone, I did not want to go back to work just to see a movie. But yeah, I'll clearly like it's a lot of things are sort of pinpointed at you with this movie specifically,
Yeah.
but all I needed to really like want to watch it was knowing it was a Wes Anderson movie, and I've loved everything at least thus far that he's done as a director. So I mean, Royal Tenenbaums is one of my favorite movies of all time. So
Well, they were saying that it has less heart than like previous Wes Anderson films, and like I can kind of see that. Like it's not quite as maybe character developed as Fantastic Mr. Fox, but then those are also kind of more human-esque animals, and these are like definitely like dogs.
those are also like granted they're alternate versions, but they're characters that we pretty much, as long as you've read the book, like you already kind of know what they're like.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've been around for so long, whereas these are wholly original characters, so it's hard to immediately attach to those kind of characters as opposed to like, oh, it's George Clooney voicing a character that I've known for a while. I'm all in on this already. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was also a complaint about like not enough female characters, but I'm like, they're dogs. Like,
Yeah,
I
but
don't.
I like anything. I think there could always be a better balance in a lot of things. And a
Yeah,
lot of
well,
the
there was
time
like
in Wes Anderson movies, it is usually like 24 men and like 3 women. So,
yeah, and
yeah.
all the dogs are male, but that's like the point is that they form like an alpha male pack.
Except none of them are actually alphas.
Yeah, because they're taking votes.
Yeah. That I did see like a supercut of Edward Norton's character just continuously like, let's take a vote. Let's
Yep.
take a vote. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to see that this coming week before the incoming. So it's I work at a movie theater. It is school vacation week, so that's going to be a shit show. And then next
Ooh,
week after
fun
that,
times.
Avengers comes out.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I know.
So that is going to be hell week. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited for the movie, but that is going to be a hellish time at work.
Wait, no. Avengers doesn't. You have this week is school vacation.
This week is school
Then,
vacation, and then the following
then
week
yeah.
is when Avengers comes out.
So you have like a few days of of reprieve before craziness starts again.
Oh yeah, but it's all gonna just be like anxiety of like, oh god, oh god, oh god.
I know.
uh, but yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But I did catch up on a couple things of TV stuff since
Oh, me too.
we're running a little quick today. So, um, I watched everything that has aired so far on Krypton,
Mhm.
and that's been decent. Some
Mhm.
parts better than others, but I generally enjoy the world it's getting built up. Um,
And I probably won't watch that because I don't really care about Superman. I'm so sorry, Matthew. I'm so sorry. You know this is true.
it
I'm more of a Batman
legitimately
fan.
it legitimately like doesn't really have that much to do with Superman himself. The only like the biggest reference to it is that Adam Strange shows up with the Superman cape, and it looks like
Mhm.
the Christopher Reeve cape.
Ah.
So it actually feels like more of a nod to that. And you do hear at one point the John Williams like do 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 a little bit in there, and so it's more of just like moments of homage within this other story that it like it's definitely not a Superman show,
Okay.
even though it's a Superman show, so to speak. Um, but yeah, it's fairly enjoyable. But I watched the first episode of Lost in Space,
Oh, how's
and
that?
I, having going only on the first episode,
Mhm.
absolutely loved it. To the point where near the end of the episode, you hear the robot for the first time say "Danger, Will Robinson," and I teared up a little bit. And like I watched reruns of Lost in Space when I was a kid, but I was never like attached to the show. But it brought back this weird feeling of watching that show when I was a kid. Um, and there's like
you know,
genuine danger and interesting ways that they brought about like one of the family members possibly dying, and so like it's genuinely like a very solid episode of TV. I don't know how it goes from here. I've seen very mixed reviews in general, but this first episode I thought was absolutely fantastic.
well, if I think about it, you know who the biggest Lost in Space fan is? My mom. She used to watch it when she was a kid.
Yeah,
And now that I think about it, that's probably one of the first sci-fi shows she watched, which got her into sci-fi.
that then
Which
she
then,
probably transferred to Doctor
to
Who
me,
and
no, not she didn't watch Doctor Who until recently.
oh
She
okay,
didn't. She didn't watch Doctor Who as a kid, but then she didn't really watch original Trek. But that got her into seeing like Star Wars when it opened,
yeah,
and then she got into Next
next
Generation
gen,
like later on, and then she passed her love of sci-fi on to me, and then I'm the one who introduced her to Battlestar and Doctor Who, and she introduced me to Star Trek and Star Wars.
yeah.
So if it wasn't for Lost in Space, we might not be having this podcast right now.
I mean, I might. You wouldn't, but
I mean, like, who would I
don't
even
know.
be?
I don't know if your mom having not watched that show would have affected my life that much.
You don't even know. It's like the butterfly effect. Who knows where we'd be, what kind of people we'd be, where we'd be in life.
I'd be very muscle
Ah.
bound, and
Right? I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know. I also caught up on TV this week, and by that I mean the new
anime.
season of Terrace House. I'm not even gonna talk about it. I love Terrace House. Like it's not even the actual like people on the show. It's like the panel that like cracks me up.
Right.
Because it's a panel. Most of them are all comedians or actors or actresses, and so they're just so funny. They're like commentary on like what's going on the show. But yeah,
It's
they're
sort of the thing that like as much as I like Dungeons and Dragons, I don't think I would necessarily watch or listen to people play Dungeons and Dragons except for the fact that Critical Role and the Adventure Zone, the being the cast of Critical Role and the McElroys on Adventure Zone are just so good with their character stuff and getting each other to like crack up and get interested in the story. Like that's why I actually am able to get into those.
Well, they're even like the last season that they did in Hawaii, like kind of really sucked, and they like joke about like how that season sucked.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, let's like pretend like that didn't happen. And I'm like, okay, so we're all on the same page here. Aloha State, boo, no good. But yeah, okay, if you don't know what Terrace House is, it's like a Japanese version of the real world, except that like people are generally really nice to each other and they like care about motivating each other and reaching their goals together, but also like falling in love, and like it's important, like everything kind of goes in baby steps, and like holding hands is like a step, and it's not like people don't just like jump into bed together. I don't know, there's like a certain level of purity that I just feel like this world is lacking, and I get it from Terrace House. And this season takes place in Nagano instead of Tokyo, so it's like super picturesque too and pretty there.
So they all go bobsledding on the abandoned Nagano track.
No, but they do a lot of snowboarding, I will say, and one of them is a pro snowboarder.
I bet that didn't make other people feel like garbage snowboarding.
No, they didn't, because he was teaching them, and he even took one girl because he's like sponsored by like a sports company to like get her all geared up because she didn't have her stuff. I'm telling you, like these people are so nice.
It's too pure.
It's so pure. And like they're literally mad at the youngest one for like not working hard enough because he like wants to be a chef, but he like dicks around all the time, and he like doesn't listen to people, and they think that he's inconsiderate of other people's feelings. And so like there's like the two oldest people are like 26 and 31, and they're like, and he's 19.
They're so old.
No, I'm just saying, like, no, and they're like, they kind of taking on like almost like a parental role, and they're like always trying to like talk to him and like give him advice, and he's like not listening, and they're like so frustrated. They like, he came to the show because he wanted to be independent and he wanted to be a chef, and he's like, he's not working towards those things, and he makes up a million excuses and they don't buy it.
He's a real dingus.
I want people to think that way about me and help me push to reach my goals, although I guess I kind of like will do that myself anyway.
Yeah, you tend to take care of that.
Yeah, I guess I don't need a house full of people,
and you're also
motivating
not
me.
Afraid to ask when like you need a motivation moment.
That's true. I'm also like old as dirt, so
our brittle bones.
Yes, so old. Listen, I have a milestone year this year. You don't even know.
I mean,
a whole year younger than me.
Every year is a milestone year. we haven't dissolved yet.
Not yet. I don't know what's gonna happen when my mutant gene kicks in finally. I just hope it's not shitty.
Oh, that would also imply that your puberty is hitting very late.
Someday I'll be a real girl. Someday.
Okay. Well, I guess on that
note,
what
this is? This is hunger podcasting right now, because like when I didn't get to eat dinner because I got stuck at a brewery, and then they were talking about pizza, and now we're talking about movies and things, but I can still think about pizza. And
well, I ate a BLT right before we recorded, and I actually have pizza waiting for me as I finish. So
I'm hoping when I open this door that there is
a magical
pizza waiting for me. Magical pizza would be it's the best kind of pizza.
But do you know what they would have gotten for toppings?
I don't.
Then it could be a nightmare.
I mean, usually, like, Steph does,
they
like,
could have put Swedish fish on that pizza.
No.
You never know.
I mean, Steph makes pizza a lot, and, like, her toppings are legit. So, I feel like I trust in their topping choice.
Well.
But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen when I open this door. I don't know.
We'll let the mystery not wait anymore. And we'll say
goodbye. What's going to happen when I open this door?
Find out next time.
Come on, push your glasses up.
Bye.